Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 12. It's been a while since my last video because there's been an international break. I've also been on a trip to London, and as you can probably hear from my voice, I haven't been completely healthy the last few days in terms of, or at least like my throat and voice and stuff. So hopefully it will work out for this video. I know there's going to be a lot of new viewers most likely because I am now on Blue Sky, which is a pretty rapidly growing site, especially when it comes to the FPL community. So hopefully, if you're the first time viewer for this, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you enjoyed this concept. This is basically my favorite video to make every single week because I do a wildcard draft every single week where I try to present what I think is the best squad to have in FPL for the next few game weeks. And that's what I'm going to do right now as well in this video. So it's a bit different to what most content creators do because I do it in a different style. I do it in the style of an NBA or NFL style draft where the number one pick is going to be the player that I think is the most important player to have currently in FPL. And then the 15th pick is going to be the last player in my squad who barely made the cut, basically, like the player that I'm the most unsure about having in my squad currently. So I'm going to do that. I'm also going to talk about the players that have dropped out since last time. And I'm also going to talk about 3 players that were close to making it this time around, but just didn't for some reason or another. But yeah, let's just go straight into it with the number 1 pick for this week. And that is going to be Cole Palmer from Chelsea. I think he's the best player to have currently in FPL. And if you were to ask me to choose one player to have from this game week all the way until game week 38, my pick would probably be Palmer, and especially with the fixtures that he has right now, that makes him a pretty simple pick for number 1 currently as well. Leicester away this next upcoming game week, I think he might be the best captaincy option. There's going to be another player that has a good case for captaincy this week as well, and he's also going to make a good case for being the best player in the Premier League currently, which I also think Palmer potentially is right now. But yeah, Palmer is amazing. I think he's a really good player. The next 4 game weeks aren't the best, as you can see there. Leicester away, Aston Villa at home, Southampton away, Spurs away. 3 out of 4 games are away from home, so that's not ideal. But I think, like I said, for the long haul, he's really good. And I think he is also one of the most undervalued players in the game this season, despite having the biggest price hike of all time, going from 5.0 last season as the starting price to 10.5. He's now 11 million, and I still think he's kind of a bargain still because he is the talisman for Chelsea, takes penalties, he's on set pieces and stuff as well. Chelsea are looking really good. Maybe not so much lately. They have been a bit disappointing offensively lately, but they've also had some tough matches against some pretty good teams. So I think as soon as the fixtures get better, which is right now because he plays Leicester, I think Palmer's going to be fantastic again. He's sort of been a bit stop-start this season. He has had like 2 major game weeks, the one against Wolves and then the one against Brighton as well. And I think Leicester could be another one of those. So I think he is a fantastic player, the number 1 pick currently, and that's what he is in my draft as well for this weekly wildcard draft in Game Week 12, on top of what he was last week in Game Week 11 as well. Let's move on to the number 2 pick, which is going to be Mohamed Salah, who is another good captaincy choice for Game Week 12. It is between him and Palmer for captaincy. I think they are the 2 strongest players to have in Game Week 12. And beyond that as well, I think Salah is going to be pretty damn great as well. You can see he has the Man City game, which is marked with dark red, which means that it's the toughest possible game to have. But I think currently Man City are struggling a bit, especially defensively. We know Salah's track record in big games against big teams like Man City, and also against Man City in particular. Salah has been really good the past few seasons, has had some pretty vital goals for Liverpool in those fixtures. So I think at Anfield especially, I think he is actually a pretty good captaincy choice that week. So I don't think that fixture is too bad either. Newcastle away and Everton away, again, 3 out of 4 away fixtures in the next 4 isn't ideal. But I think it doesn't really matter that much for the likes of Salah and Palmer. I think they can provide the goods in matches against some of these lesser teams especially. So yeah, Salah's still amazing. I think he is the greatest FPL player of all time. And he's just holding left, right, and center every single game week, as he has done for the past like 6 or 7 years or whatever since he joined Liverpool. So Salah's still amazing. He's the number 2 pick, again, because he just keeps delivering. He keeps playing really, really well. And he's just a fantastic player. So yeah, he comes in at number 2. Number 3, we have Matthias Cunha from Wolverhampton. He is an amazing player as well. He's the best player for Wolverhampton. He's on penalties for them. He's basically their talisman and is involved in most of the things that they do offensively. And Wolves have just terrific fixtures all the way up until game week 17, 18, just about there. But yeah, the next fixture against Fulham away isn't the best. I could potentially even bench him this week myself as I have him in my squad. But yeah, pretty happy with Cunha overall. I had him number 2 pick last week because I thought his home fixture against Southampton last week was a really good fixture. Proven right there as well because he got 12 points in that game. Again, proving his worth and why he's such a good player to have for not the worst price either. He's still pretty cheap. I think he's the best striker still in the game. But yes, eventually those fixtures will dry out from game week 18 onwards. It's going to be a pretty tough time for Wolverhampton. But until then, I think Cunha is going to be a fantastic player and currently the best forward in the game, in my opinion. So he's the number 3 pick this time around in game week 12. Number 4, we have a teammate of his in Ait-Nouri. He's been one of the best, highest scoring defenders the last few game weeks as well. He just keeps getting in pretty attacking positions, sometimes even like up front pretty much as a striker almost for Wolverhampton. He's just super attacking. He even got a clean sheet this past game week against Southampton, so that could happen sometimes as well, and maybe we'll get lucky and he gets a goal and a clean sheet at some point in the future as well. So yeah, I think Ait-Nouri is just a fantastic player. He's so attacking, he's so fun to watch as well, really good with the ball in his feet. Just a really terrific player, and I think he's currently my favorite defender by a decent margin. There are a couple other good defenders that I'm going to talk about in this video as well, but I think Cunha is my standout pick out of the defensive players currently. So yeah, just the fixtures for Wolverhampton are just really good the next few game weeks. Like I said with Cunha, that counts the same for Ait-Nouri, who plays almost as attacking as Cunha. Really, it's basically Cunha, Ait-Nouri, and Strand Larsen who are the 3 most attacking players in that team, which is kind of crazy because Ait-Nouri is still listed as a defender in FPL. I wonder if that will change next season because he basically plays as a winger this time around. So yeah, we'll see what happens next season, but for now, he's a defender. Let's take advantage of that with the good fixtures that he has. So he comes in at number 4 this week. Number 5, we have Bruno Fernandes, who was number 3 last week because I had a really good hunch about Bruno Fernandes last time around, the fixture that they had. I captained him, got 34 points with him as my captain. As you can see, my rank is currently doing pretty well, 222k. Massive boost from Fernandes being my captain that week. So yeah, Leicester at home was a terrific fixture for him. He provided the goods, and he has 2 pretty good fixtures now, Ipswich away and Everton at home, before he gets some trickier fixtures. So that's why he's dropped a bit in the rankings. He doesn't have quite as many good games right now, but it's also going to be really interesting to see what happens with him under Ruben Amorim. Maybe Amorim unlocks something in both Bruno Fernandes and Man United that is going to make them a really good team to have in matches against the likes of Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Who knows? It's kind of tough to judge the value of Bruno Fernandes going forward because we don't really know how Man United will look under Amorim. But I think it's a pretty exciting prospect, especially these next 2 game weeks against Ipswich and Everton. 2 really good auditions for him to potentially be a really valuable player to have in FPL. And he's been so for me this past game week because he got 17 points times 2 as my captain, 34 points. It's absolutely amazing. I haven't had him all of last season and all of this season up until last week when I brought him in and got 17 points, which was absolutely amazing. Maybe he's back on as a terrific FPL asset again. He was back in the day. He was the best player in, I think it was 2019, 2020 season potentially. Somewhere around there. He just kept scoring goals, was absolutely fantastic for Man United. Got the most points in FPL and was like 12.0, I think, in terms of value. So he has that in him, even though he's now like 8.3 or something like that. Pretty cheap for someone that could potentially be devastating attackingly for a player. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens under Amorim. I think the next 2 game weeks are going to be pretty telling in that regard. 2 really easy fixtures, and I have high hopes for Fernandes in those fixtures. He could potentially also be a captaincy option in either of those game weeks. So yeah, I think he's still a terrific option, and he comes in at number 5. Number 6, we have NICOLAS Jackson, as he perfectly put it himself. Just a pretty huge fan of Chelsea's fixtures in general, especially for game week 16, which is the fixtures that you can't see here. You can see from game week 12 to 15 on this graphic right here, which are decent fixtures to be fair. Leicester away, Aston Villa at home, Southampton away, and Spurs away. Again, not the best that 3 out of the 4 is away fixtures, but after that he has terrific fixtures, and I think for the long haul he's actually a really good candidate to have in Premier League or in FPL currently. So yeah, that's why he's number 6 pick. I think he's a terrific striker. Like I've said most of the season as well, I think he's been underrated in the past and finally getting his flowers. He plays pretty regularly for Chelsea. Not really too much of a rotation risk in general. It seems like Nkunku is the preferred candidate in the Conference League, and NICOLAS Jackson gets to play in the Premier League. So that's perfect for both Palmer and Jackson. They can rest in the Conference League and play in the Premier League. And be just terrific players overall. So I think NICOLAS Jackson, there's a bit of a debate between him and Isak currently. We're going to get to Isak eventually, trust me. But I think Jackson is probably my pick out of the two. Even though Isak has the better short-term fixtures, I think for the long haul, I think Jackson is a really good striker to have. So yeah, he comes in at number 6 for that reason. I think Chelsea are a really good team to back. They have had some tougher fixtures the last few game weeks, so people aren't quite as hot on them as they have been in the past, but they've shown with better fixtures against West Ham and Brighton and stuff, and Wolverhampton earlier in the season, both Palmer and Jackson have been really valuable in that time. So I think with the better fixtures that they have coming up, they're going to be really good assets, and Jackson is definitely someone that you can double up with when it comes to him and Palmer offensively for Chelsea. So yeah, he comes in at number 6. Number 7, we have Gvardiol, who just can't stop scoring, basically, since I sold him when I did my wildcard in Game Week 6. He didn't really have much in Game Week 1 through 5, had like 1 clean sheet, and that was it, basically. I sold him, and ever since that, he's just been scoring left, right, and center. Even now in the Nations League as well, scored a goal against Portugal. It was called off for offside, and then 2 minutes later, he scores a goal that actually stands. So yeah, he's just a terrific goal threat. So yeah, City's fixtures aren't the best. City haven't been the best. They've conceded a lot of goals, but Gvardiol is just a fantastic striker of the ball, both with his feet and with his head. He's just a fantastic finisher in general, really bright talent in general. So yeah, I just think you just need to go with him just because he is that big of a goal threat, and City need the goals basically because they just keep conceding and keep needing to turn up the pace and get some goals towards the end of matches. So yeah, I think for that reason, Gvardiol is still a really good pick. But I sort of get why people would be put off a bit with both the price tag that he has at 6.3 currently, and also the fixtures that Man City have, and also the form of Man City, which hasn't been the best. But Gvardiol is still a fantastic player in his own right. So yeah, he comes in at number 7 this week. Number 8, we have Lucas Digne for Aston Villa. He had, 2 assists and an almost goal, I think, for France in the Nations League as well. He's been in fantastic form. He's keeping Theo Hernandez out of the French national team, which is absolutely amazing. So Digne is just legit, and it seems like he's playing in the Premier League. Motson is playing in the Champions League, so it's really good for Digne. You can see the next 4 fixtures, really, really good. Crystal Palace at home, fantastic fixture. Chelsea away, not so good maybe, but then Brentford at home, Southampton at home, terrific fixtures for Digne, who I think will play pretty much every single game week and get 60 minutes plus. So yeah, his attacking potential is really good. Set pieces, as he's shown now for France especially, are really, really good, so he should take more of them for Aston Villa as well. And yeah, he's been a really good asset so far this season. He hasn't really been picked by many people, but Kimo, who's a former co-host on the FPL Scope podcast with me, he had Digne previously in the season, and he actually did really well for him. So maybe now he'll go back to his trolling ways now that he's getting a bit of notoriety in the FPL community. Some people are considering him, and I think for good reason, because I think he's a really good player in general. So don't let past mistakes from him hamper you, because I think he's a fantastic pick still. But I sort of get why you would be a bit hesitant with his past in FPL. But I don't think that should stop you. I think Digne is a terrific player to have currently, and he's the number 8 pick for that reason, because Aston Villa have some really good fixtures in the next 10 game weeks. They have really good fixtures, but especially the next 4, I think Digne is going to be fantastic. So he comes in at number 8. Number 9, we do have Alexander Isak as well. I don't have to choose between him and Jackson. There is another striker that I'm going to talk about at the end of the video. I was close to making it, but I think currently Jackson, especially with that West Ham at home fixture, which is a fixture that he loves to play in, Isak. He keeps scoring against West Ham. I know as a West Ham fan, he's tormented me in the past. And Isak is just a terrific player who's in terrific form as well. Not as in good form as his striking partner for Sweden, Kerkez, but that doesn't really matter because Kerkez doesn't play for Newcastle. That's only one slight doubt I have about Isak, I guess. Callum Wilson is inching towards getting back healthy soon, potentially. He just keeps getting injured anyways, but if Wilson is back healthy, then maybe that will hamper Isak a little bit. But I think for this game week against West Ham, he's going to be a terrific player. Then the next 3 game weeks aren't the best. I mean, it is Crystal Palace and Brentford, 2 not so good teams, I guess, but at the same time, it's also away. Brentford have actually been the best home side so far this season. And Crystal Palace aren't the worst either. They're sort of getting into the groove as well. And then Liverpool is not the easiest fixture either. But game 16 and 17, he has terrific fixtures as well, Isak. So for the short term, the next 4 or 5 game weeks, Isak is probably going to be a really good player to have. So that's why I have him in the Wildcard draft, basically. But yeah, he is the striker that I'm the most unsure about having currently. That's why he's the 3rd rated striker so far in this weekly Wildcard draft. But I still think he's a fantastic player, especially this week against West Ham. would potentially be tempted to captain him as well if it wasn't for all the really good fixtures that you have with Palmer and Salah and Fernandes as really good captaincy choices this week as well. If Isak was like the standalone captaincy pick this week, he'd probably be higher in the rankings. But seeing as there are really good captaincy choices, you probably wouldn't want to go with Isak as captain now anyways. He's going to be slightly lower down in the totem pole, I guess, for the value in players that I see currently in FPL. But he's a really good player. I really like Isak as both a player and a person. Really fun to watch, and I wish I could have him currently because I'm faring the worst when it comes to him against West Ham. But yeah, on the wildcard draft that I'm projecting, that I think you should choose if you're on the wildcard, he is in the squad at least. So yeah, he comes in at number 9. He was also there last week, so he's not really a new pick either. I already knew he was going to be good. I think I had him as like a on the cusp player a couple weeks back as well. So yeah, Isak was always going to come into form at some point. He was a really popular player at the start of the season for a reason, because he's a fantastic player, playing for a pretty good team, and he has a proven track record now in FPL of being a really good striker. So I think he's a really good player to choose now as well. But there are some other players that I'm going to talk about at the end of the video that you could potentially choose rather than him, but we'll get to that eventually. Number 10, we have Morgan Rogers still. I've had him in most of my drafts, maybe even all of my drafts so far this season. I don't think I've really dropped him from my weekly wildcard draft series because, yeah, I just think he's terrific value. He plays every single game for Aston Villa. I think he's one of the best players for Aston Villa as well. He's proven himself in FPL, getting a lot of points. Some weeks not so good, I guess. Last week he got 2 points, blanked. But with the good fixtures that they have coming up, I think he's going to be a really good player to have as well. And when it comes to the Champions League, yes, there's going to be some rotation. He's going to play some minutes in the Champions League as well, and potentially not playing as much in the Premier League. But I think also, as Champions League moves along, Aston Villa will I think potentially they will secure a top 8 position, potentially. Once that happens, or if they get, even if they keep doing really well in the Champions League, they could be able to rest some of their better players like Rodgers in those fixtures. But yeah, regardless, I think he plays most games. Even if he plays in the Champions League, he plays in the Premier League as well, mostly. And in the games against the lesser teams, he's proven that he can get a lot of points. So I really like Rodgers still think he's the best cheap asset to have in midfield in FPL. So yeah, he keeps his place in the squad as well. Number 11 is Brian Mbeumo, and after looking at his fixtures more closely, I think I'm still actually pretty confident keeping him even past these 4 game weeks that you can see here. Everton away, decent fixture. Brentford haven't been the best away this season, but should also be noted that their home games so far have been really easy and their away games so far have been really tough. That probably explains why they're top of the league when it comes to the home table, and then bottom of the league when it comes to away table. But I think that's kind of more of a trend than like an actual thing for the whole season. I think once they get to play easier teams away and tougher teams at home, that's going to be flipped a little bit. So I don't think you should read too much into that. But it is just fun to note that at home, they are just scoring at will, and they are fantastic. That's why Mbeumo is such a good captaincy choice in Game Week 13. Potentially might be the best captaincy choice in that week, and that's why you want to keep him for that game week as well. And that's why he's still on the draft as well, because after that, they get some pretty tough fixtures. Could potentially look to sell him, but for the next two fixtures especially, I think Mbeumo is a fantastic player to have at number 11. Number 12, I have Lucas Fabianski from West Ham, and yes, he's not going to be my starting goalkeeper most weeks. He's going to be a backup goalkeeper mostly, but I also think there's no really good standout first choice goalkeepers to choose from as well. So Fabianski is the goalkeeper that I'm the most sure about having in my squad, so that's why he's going to be ranked higher than my actual starting goalkeeper that I will present to you eventually. But he did get 9 points for me last game week as my starting goalkeeper in West Ham's fixture against Everton. I was at that game. It was one of the most boring games I've ever watched, but at least I got 9 points from Fabianski in that game week, and he's going to be pretty good for that type of fixture later on in the season as well. As you can see from the fixtures, the next two, Newcastle and Arsenal, he's going to be on the bench 100% because he's going to concede in most games, especially those two. But after that, in the games against Leicester especially, I think he could be a good goalkeeper to start. And for the price of 4.0, you can't really find anyone better or even anyone playing at that price in FPL. So that's why Fabianski is a pretty easy pick to make. But he's obviously not essential either because he's going to be mostly on your bench as well. So yeah, he comes in at number 12. He's basically just the default backup goalkeeper to have, and that's for good reason because he is still a decent goalkeeper even at his age, especially in FPL for that price. You can't really find anyone better. So he comes in at number 12 for that reason. Number 13, we have Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth had really good fixtures, and I think Kerkez has been really impressive so far this season. Got 2 assists in the game against Man City, I think, not too long ago. So he's proven his worth offensively. He plays every single game for Bournemouth. Unlike last season, he is like the main starting left back now under Andoni Iraola, who is a really good manager and made Bournemouth a really good team. So I think the clean sheets could come as well, especially with the easier fixtures that they have. The attacking returns could come. So I think all in all, Kerkez is a really good player for only 4.4, I think it costs currently. So yeah, for that reason, he's number 13th pick. There's a lot of good defenders to choose from at that price range, but I think Kerkez is currently my favorite to have in FPL. So yeah, he comes in at number 13. Number 14, we have the number 1 goalkeeper for me, which is going to be Robert Sanchez, and that's mostly down to fixtures for the next like 10 game weeks are really, really good. So that's why I've chosen him. Chelsea aren't the best defensively, but Sanchez has also gotten a lot of points previously in the season for having a lot of saves, having a penalty save amongst them. So I think Sanchez is still a decent goalkeeper, but he's not really like a slam-dunk goalkeeper to choose either. So that's why he's pretty low in my rankings. But yeah, I just don't think there's any really good goalkeepers to have. Mats Sels is probably my favorite goalkeeper to have for the entirety of the season, but I think Nottingham Forest fixtures are just so bad in the next 4 or 5 game weeks that you can't really choose him, even though for the long haul he's going to be pretty good, probably. But for now, I would probably pick Sanchez to last you for, yeah, pretty far into the new year as well. So yeah, Sanchez comes in at number 14 for that reason. Then number 15, my final player in the team is Jacob Greaves. Welcome back. He was a pretty like easy pick to have at the start of the season because he's a really cheap player that plays every game when he's fit and healthy. But obviously he's been pretty. He's been out with injuries and stuff. He's been injured for quite a while now. He's on his way back. So for the games that do matter against Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, he's probably going to be fit and ready to play. So for that reason, and basically for this team not having enough money to have anyone else, Greaves is the pick at 4.0. I still think he is a decent pick. Ipswich are obviously not the best team to choose from because defensively they've been really bad, especially without Greaves in the team. But with him in the team, he has some goal threat as well offensively, and Ipswich could manage to get some clean sheets at some point. But he's basically there just because he's really cheap. And that's why he's the number 15th pick, because he's not really that valuable, but he's going to be on the bench most weeks and not really take up too much space in terms of cost either. And he's going to be ready to play if you need him to. So yeah, he comes in at number 15. So as you can see, my team is actually pretty close to my wildcard draft from Gameweek 11. I think that says something about how well I did in Gameweek 11, because I think all these players are really, really good, obviously. Don't really think there's much reason to change the winning team. As you can see, Cunha, Salah, Fernandes, these guys did really well this past game week, so I think they're going to be even better for the future when they get better fixtures. My Gameweek 11 draft was actually like a bit preemptive, like I said when I made that video. It was sort of with the future in mind, and yeah, that's why they are still pretty much the same squad right now, because I don't really think there's any like huge standout picks that I missed in this team. But I'm going to talk about the three players that I've dropped out since last time. You can see Digne, Kerkez, and Greaves are all green colored names, which means that they are new since last time. And with 3 players coming in, that means 3 players have dropped out. So let's talk about those 3 players before we talk about 3 players that were close to making the team but didn't. But first and foremost, the 3 dropped defenders currently. Lewis Hall from Newcastle, I still think is a good pick, but I'm not too sure about Newcastle defensively, and the fixtures, as you can see, not really many of them are good for clean sheets, I think. So yeah, for that reason, Hall drops out, but I think if you want him rather than Kerkez, if you feel more comfortable having a Newcastle defender than a Bournemouth defender, for example, I think he's still really good value at only 4.4, so I still think he's a good player to have. Rico Lewis has been in my wildcard drafts for a long while. He's still in my own current team as well, but yeah, I think playing time is still going to be played most game weeks, but yeah, City just keeps conceding. He haven't really shown much in terms of attacking output and stuff, so yeah, it's time to just hang it up for Lewis, basically. And then finally, Gvardiol for Brighton is injured. He's out for like 2 months, so Estupiñán is someone that I did consider and that I'm going to talk about pretty soon as well. But Gvardiol obviously has to drop out because he's injured, so that's a pretty easy choice for him to be removed from the team from last time around. Now let's talk about the 3 players that were on the cusp, 3 players that I was close to picking but didn't for some reason, so let's get into that as well. Number 1 is obviously João Pedro. He is going to be a really popular player this week, but I think Bournemouth away is not the best fixture to bring him in for, and I think Isak at home to West Ham is just more valuable to have if I was wildcarding this week. So next week it's probably going to be Joao Pedro rather than Isak in my squad, but for this week, with the West Ham fixture in mind, I'm just going to pick Isak, even though it is one transfer. So maybe you want to save the transfer and just have Joao Pedro now, potentially bench him this week against Bournemouth, and then have him for some really, really good fixtures for Brighton. But yeah, for now I just prefer Isak, so that's why he's been picked over Joao Pedro. But obviously, Joao Pedro came back, scored and assisted against Man City, looked fantastic. He's on penalties, he's the talisman and the main man for Brighton as well. His manager, Fabian Hurtzler, said so, that he's making things happen for Brighton. So I think he is going to be a really, really good pick. But I think you can wait one more week before you bring him in, basically. Estupiñán the same. Brighton are going to have some really good fixtures from Gameweek 13 especially onwards. I'm still not 100% sure about Estupiñán. He only has 6 points so far in FPL. I'm not sure about Brighton defensively, and Estupiñán hasn't looked quite as attacking as he has been in the past. He's also 5.0, so it's a bit more expensive than most defenders. So I have some questions about Estupiñán, but he's obviously a huge favorite of mine in the past. So if he's going to be nailed now as the left back with Kadioglu injured for the next 2 months, he's definitely someone to consider as well. And finally, Gabriel Magalhaes, speaking of FPL favorites of mine, he's obviously someone that you have to mention because, yeah, he has that goal threat in him all the time. He has that clean sheet threat in him all the time with Arsenal. But, yeah, Arsenal just haven't been the best lately. So, yeah, I've decided to go without him because he would be too expensive, and it would probably be him rather than Gvardiol, who's proven more in terms of scoring goals lately than Gabriel Magalhaes has done. So those are the 3 players that were close to making it that didn't, and that basically concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed it, even though I had to take a break and make a cut midway through because of my voice. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if you're new, I hope you stick around. I hope you subscribe because I'm really close to getting to 1,000 subscribers, which would be amazing. So if you like what you saw from this video, even though I was a bit sick and wasn't performing at my best for that reason, I hope you can subscribe and help me get to 1,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. Hope you can also follow me on both Twitter, if you're still on Twitter, or X as they call it, if you are still there. But if you're on Blue Sky as well, you can follow me there with the same sort of tagline, the FPL Scope point BSKY, whatever the tagline is for Blue Sky. I think it's a bit cumbersome, but whatever. You can find me there pretty easily if you search for the FPL Scope in the search bar, I'm sure. So yeah, add me on those types of social medias and subscribe to me on YouTube if you want more of this type of content. Gonna have at least the team selection video and free hit draft for Friday as well. So I hope you stick around for that before Gameweek 12 gets into gear on Saturday and Sunday. So, and Monday actually, because West Ham against or Newcastle against West Ham is on the Monday. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the video on Friday that I'm gonna put out, and I also hope you enjoy the upcoming game week in FPL, and I hope this was of value for you if you're wildcarding Game Week 12, or if you're not wildcarding Game Week 12. I hope this gave you some interesting points of view when it comes to some of these players that I think are really, really good to have in FPL currently. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching. I'm going to go to bed now and, well, edit this video first and then go to bed and try to get back healthy again and be ready for Friday's video. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching as always. See you next time. Bye-bye.